Well, folks, mark your calendars. 2026 is the year Jada Ben finally lost his marbles.
Hey man, new year, new me.
Looks like the same clown running the same circus to me.
What, you look? Well, hey, it's good to see you again. My name is Jada Ben, and welcome back to this YouTube channel of mine where you dreamed that you were 26 and all your friends were there. You were never at your best, and no one seemed to care. Welcome to 2026, and we're starting the year off with the Metal Tag, done by Marty and Alan over the Heavy Metallurgy channel. But we got a lot of awesome things to talk about and a lot of cool questions to answer. But first, we're going to start by what is playing in the background just right over here today, and that is going to be Punk from Medellin, Colombia, 1987 to 1992, a compilation of various artists released in 2019, I believe, on Death Is Not the End Records. I picked this up at Alienated Majesty Bookstore not too long ago when we saw Missouri Executive Order 44. This is a really, really cool compilation, just as some really, really obscure punk from, you guessed it, Colombia. So, highly recommend checking this out. I'm going to leave a link to this comp down in the description, as well as maybe a link to where you can buy this, because I highly recommend checking out some cool music from cool places in 2026. Punk from Medellin, Colombia, 1987 to 1992. Check this guy out. But as I said earlier, we're going to be talking the Metal Tag today, and I have got all of my questions right here in front of me, as well as the records here in my lap. We're going to go through and answer all of Marty and Alan's lovely questions, and I'm going to go through and talk about some of these records in detail, because it was fun to kind of go back through this old collection of mine. Funny story, Heavy Metallurgy, I've been a long-time lurker of their live streams. I watch a lot of them after the fact. Doing last year's edition was such a fun thing to do, especially being new to YouTube. So, Marty, Alan, if you guys are watching this video, thank you guys so very, very much for doing this, for having me on, and also for following the channel, following that video as well. It meant the fucking world to me. Thank you so goddamn much. Without any further ado, let's get into question number 1. Giddy Up 2026 is the year of the Fire Horse. Show an album with a horse on the cover. Those horse-like creatures, such as Pegasus, are permitted, but you lose some street cred if you show a unicorn. I had 2 releases that came to mind on this one. The one that I'm going to show, one that I can't find, the one that I almost bought. I was going record shopping. I almost bought the Castle Rat album, The Bestiary, but I forgot I would lose street cred for that. And we ain't no losers that lose street cred around here. So I went with some of my local boys, some good friends of mine, in Skeleton, Ordainment of Divinity, released in 2021 on 20 Buck Spin Records. As of the moment, this is the band's most recent recording. I know they've been working on stuff for a little while, but they're out of Austin, Texas. Black metal, punk, and a little bit of death metal kind of thrown in there too. These guys are some excellent friends of mine. I highly recommend checking them out. I would love to film their sets later this year. Hopefully they'll have some coming up here soon as well. But it's just this really, really cool cassette. This was limited, I don't know to how many copies, but it wasn't around very long. It took me a very long time to find this. But as you can see, that cover's really cool. My brother actually owns a shirt of this design. So super, super cool. And might as well shout out a local band while we're at it. Skeleton, Ordainment of Divinity. I think you guys are going to like that one. Number 2, Nostalgia. Show an album that you now think is very good, but you can't bring yourself to get rid of it. I keep a lot of my collection. I've had a lot of stuff stay in my collection from the better part of upwards of about 10 years ago, where I'm like not so fond of the music now. So I kind of wanted to pick a little bit more of a recent example for this one, and for that I am going to select Dream Theater, A View from the Top of the World, released in 2021 on Inside Out Music. This, I believe, would be the band's 13th album, if I'm doing my math correctly. We ended up catching them on this tour in 2022 at the Bass Concert Hall. I prefer these tracks in a live setting more so than a studio setting. I mean, there's some okay tracks on here. The Alien, Awaken the Master, and then the 20-minute is really, really good, but to me, this album felt a little bit uninspired, especially following Distance Over Time, which I had a very, very good relationship with. It was one of my favorite albums of the band, and I feel like it doesn't get enough credit. But I feel like this one was kind of the thing I didn't like about Distance Over Time, just kind of amplified a little bit more. Those being just some of the, like, lackadaisical direction. It didn't really have a direction to go in, and I mean, again, it's prog metal, and you know, some people like that stuff, but for me, I felt this record was a little bit weak. Parasomnia, their follow-up, actually was a little bit better than this one, but I'm still kind of on the fence about that one. Maybe we'll talk about it more in a positive light in the very, very near future, but I can't really bring myself to get rid of it because I love Dream Theater. It's kind of one of the first metal bands I ever really got into. I remember hearing the song Pull Me Under in 2009 when I was playing Guitar Hero when I was just a little boy, and it stuck with me. So this band has been with me for the very, very long time, and every time they drop something new, I'm going to check it out. And I did pre-order this. This was the first record of theirs I ever did pre-order, so I mean, it holds some sentimental value to me. I mean, we did see this tour live, so I do kind of like to go back and hear these tracks from time to time, but it's not the best release in the world, so I mean, I'm still gonna hang on to it though. Dream Theater, a view from the top of the world. Question number 3. GOAT. Show your favorite new album in 2025. In case you missed my awards video that I did just a couple of weeks ago, we're going to do a little spoilers. If you haven't watched that video, go and watch that right now, and then come back to this, because we're going to talk about some of that stuff on this video. But my number 1 album of 2025 was Dead Guy with Near Death Travel Services, released in, well, 2025 on Relapse Records. Just an awesome mix of metallic hardcore, metal, and just straight hardcore. Very, very angry, very, very good riffs on this record. Highly recommend checking it out. If you haven't, if you get like Botch and Dillinger Escape Plan and some of those bands that mix a lot of dissonance and a lot of like weird, odd, mathcore-esque rhythms into their stuff, this is definitely going to be up your alley. After 30 long years, these guys have not lost a step. And this is why it was my album of the year. Dead Guy, Near Death Travel Services. Number 4, From Beyond. Show a favorite album that is not a heavy metal album. In case, again, you missed the previous awards video I did a little name graphic for myself, and I did a little gag based on this particular artist. And let's just say it's been kind of my fixation with 2025, and going into this year as well. I listened to a lot of this guy's material during the Christmas season, and pretty good reason as to why. Nat King Cole with This Is Nat King Cole, released in 1957 on Capitol Records. I own the 1985 stereo reissue from France, also on Capitol Records. This is some of my favorite material of Nat King Cole. Some songs on here such as I'm Gonna Laugh You Out of My Life, Someone You Love, Love Me As Though There Were No Tomorrow, which was such a vibe for me. I still sing that song all the time. Never Let Me Go, Too Young to Go Steady, and I Just Found Out About Love. Nat King Cole's singing voice is absolutely gorgeous. It is heartwarming, it is beautiful in all the right ways. This man had some excellent musicians behind him back in his day, and it was definitely a really, really cool thing to go out and find. I picked up another compilation of his recently at Waterloo Records, but we will talk about that in another video. Just consider this your call to go listen to some Nat King Cole, especially when it's outside and it's nice and beautiful and it's dark and maybe you're driving through the city and you're just wanting to vibe out a little bit. Nat King Cole with This Is Nat King Cole. This is going to be a fun one. Number 6. The Unknown. Share an album that you can't remember ever hearing someone talk about on YouTube. I follow a lot of content creators. I tried to go back through some of the releases around this era, and I could not find really anything on it. I think it might have been brought up in conversations about really good death metal releases from this particular year, but I have a very strong attachment to this record. I'm talking about Ageless Summoning with Corrupting the Untempled Plane, released in 2023 on Dark Descent Records. Just an absolutely awesome cover. I was originally a part of the Metalhead box subscription for about a year and a half, and this record ended up coming in one of my packages. I got this record 2 whole months early. I don't know how that happened, but either way, I still picked it up and listened to it top to bottom. These guys are out of the UK. This plays number 19 on my 2023 Albums of the Year list. And I listened to about 200 some odd records that year, so if that doesn't tell you how much I really enjoy this record, I don't know what does. They've only got one demo outside of this, so definitely worth checking out. Dark Descent Records still has copies, I believe. You can check their web store. Honestly, still easy to find a copy on distros all across the globe as well. His favorite tracks on here being Descent from the Infinite, Epoch of Souls, Incarnate Nothingness, and Salvation in Ash. Just a really, really, really good, like, monolithic death metal band. This is Ageless Summoning, Corrupting the Untempled Plane. Number 6, Front-Loaded. Show an album whose first song is its best song. I had to really think about this because for me, it was very tricky to pick an album that didn't have an intro track that also went into a really good song. And a bunch of my band's records that I did find the first real song was the best one. I kind of tend to ignore the intro track and just kind of skip straight to it. I know Marty and Alan did the same thing as well, so I feel a little less guilty about picking this record because there is sort of like a minute intro, but it does just transition smooth into the record itself. I'm talking about Fulci, Exhumed Information, released in 2021 on Time to Kill Records, IOMI 2022 third reissue on green, which has this cool green cover. The song Autopsy is technically the first song, but it's 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and it just goes into the next song, which is called Voices, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Just a really, really heavy riff that sort of build into the main riff, and then just pummels you over the head over and over and over and over. Needless to say, that sort of 1-2 punch right out of the gate really sold me on this album. As you dive further into it, the first half of it is just solid death metal, and then the second half of it features an artist called TV Crimes, which is this awesome kind of horror synth kind of stuff from like Italian movies in the 80s. These guys are Italian, by the way, I forgot to mention. But at the very, very end, I believe the song Cemetery does feature both artists doing sort of a collaborative effort. So it's definitely an interesting take on the death metal genre. I highly recommend checking this out if you haven't. This is still one of my favorite modern death metal records of the modern day. Fulci, Exhumed Information. Number 7, Encore. Show an album that you think would be better if it were longer. There were a couple records I ended up kind of throwing around before I ended up settling on one. Definitely a lot of the sort of grindcore, hardcore influence, death metal, power violence, etc. So unfortunately that is kind of where I went with this pick. This is No Moss with Consume, Deny, Repent, released in 2022 on Closed Casket Activities. This record only clocks in at about 21 minutes and 26 seconds. So very, very, very fast, but also very, very, very good death grind music. We got the pleasure of seeing these guys live. As you can see in all this glory, mine is Signed. One of the very first things I ever did get signed. We saw them opening for Negative Approach along with Null, which is just another favorite artist of mine. Again, that was also kind of thrown around, but this record does fall a little more death metal-y to me rather than grindcore, so I did feel like this was a better pick. I think Nails, Unsilent Death, and Ghoul's Dungeon Bastards also kind of were in the running, but Nails is a little bit more of a grindcore power violence, and Ghoul was a little bit longer than this one. I feel like this one deserved maybe 2 or 3 more tracks. I'd say we kind of pushed about that 27, 28, maybe 29 minutes if you're feeling like it. I feel like 2 or 3 longer songs on this record would just round it out so nicely, and it would just be an enjoyable half-an-hour listen that I could just put on and forget. 21 minutes and 26 seconds is still kind of an easy put on and kind of forget about it record while still enjoying everything, but I do feel like there was some little bit of a missed opportunity to do it a little bit longer. I think they're releasing an album later this year, and I hope that they kind of get to that, just a little bit longer. I'm not asking for much more. I'd say maybe just a hair above 30 minutes. But nevertheless, really, really good. I believe they're out of Washington, D.C. No Moss, Consume, Deny, Repent. Number 8, Fail. Show an album you bought that disappointed you. 2025, I didn't really talk about a lot of albums that disappointed me. I will say that this one was definitely a running contender for it. I ended up giving it to Patriarch, and I didn't buy anything from that record. And boy, am I glad I didn't, because that record sucked. But I am very, very disappointed with this band's release, considering I enjoyed their last couple. I'm talking about Catatonia, Nightmares as Extensions of the Waking State, released in 2025 on Napalm Records. The first 3-ish songs on this record are pretty good. The middle kind of 3 are okay, and then the end of it is just a little boring and a little bland. It kind of like feels like we're retreading ground. It feels like we've kind of been in that position at that point in the album before. And I say sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. I feel like in this instance it is kind of bad. Considering they were coming off of City Burials, which is still a favorite record of mine, and Sky Void of Stars, which I feel like was a really worthy follow-up, this felt like such a massive step down. I believe Sky Void of Stars placed in my top 20 in 2023, where this record, I believe, placed in my bottom 100, which is not good. So I'll put the exact number of placement on the screen there. It was definitely the furthest fallen for me in 2025, but I pre-ordered it before really listening to it, because I know I like Catatonia. Again, Catatonia has been there for me. I've been listening to them for the better part of about 10 years. So unfortunately, this really felt like a massive step down, and after Anders Nystrom left the band, I feel like the band may kind of be on a downward trajectory. I hate to say it, I love these guys to death. We've seen them live twice. We're going to be seeing them a third time, but this record didn't do a whole lot for me. Catatonia, Nightmares Extensions of the Waking State. Number 9, The Return. Show an album that you played in 2025 that you had not played in over a year. Well, this one was fun because this is a reissue. I ended up spinning this in 2025 because it got reissued on my preferred format of choice, which is vinyl. I do own a CD copy, but right now I'm kind of between. I'm trying to find a new CD player. So unfortunately, this record didn't get as much love as I would have liked. I didn't kind of want to stream it, but it's not as good as sometimes listening to it on physical format. I'm talking about Pissgrave with Posthumous Humiliation, released in 2019 on Profound Lore Records, later reissued in 2025, also on Profound Lore Records. Just absolutely disgusting death grind from America. Really, really good. I forget exactly where they're from, but I think the Pacific Northwest. I'll put it on the screen there if I'm wrong. Might have to blur the cover. If you haven't seen the cover, go look at that on your own time. I don't think YouTube is going to take very, very kindly to this, so I'm just going to put this down for a little bit. The record was one that I did discover after picking it up in a record shop here in Austin a number of years ago. I'd say about 2020, maybe 2021. And I really, really enjoyed it. I spun the hell out of that CD when I had a decent CD player. Now that that CD player is broken, it did kind of lose its ground. The band released a new album. I rediscovered the band, went through their back catalog again, especially after this reissue. That would be Pissgrave with Posthumous Humiliation. Number 10, Joker. Show an album with a hilarious cover art. This was a little bit tricky because I can't quite think of anything off the top of my head, but as soon as I started going back through my Discogs and just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, one of them really stood out to me, and you'll kind of see why. And it's not like the greatest joke ever told. I just really, really like it because it seems to fit the band's sense of humor. I'm talking about Wormrot with TNT, released in 2025 on Earache Records. This is the band playing live in studio after reforming their old lineup, I believe from 2012 onwards, give or take. Somewhere in that range. Again, on the screen there if I'm dead wrong. As you can see, it is the 3 members playing in studio. I like the cover because it is just kind of like an old yearbook photo. I don't know if this is any of the old band members. I'll do a little research. If I can find out who it is on the screen, I'll put it on the screen there. But it's just kind of funny just because of how the band is. They're very tongue-in-cheek. They're very, very funny. They tend to throw a lot of comedy into their stuff, and I feel like this is their sense of humor. So when I saw this, I couldn't help but just crack a smile and just go, yeah, that makes sense. Wormrot, TNT. Number 11, Yearning. Name a potential album release that you're anxiously awaiting in 2026. We recently got confirmation about this, that this record is going to be happening. We don't know if it's going to be out in 2026. Fingers crossed, it's probably going to be at the end of the year. But needless to say, I'm stoked. It's my favorite band of all time. Skinless. The band is going to be working, I believe, on their 7th studio album, which should hopefully be out in 2026 or maybe 2027. Either way, as a Skinless fan, I'm beyond fucking hyped. I cannot wait. I hope they will come down here in Austin, Texas and play some of those new songs. God, that would make my year. But in the meantime, I just gotta wait. I just gotta wait patiently and anxiously and hope that it's a great album. These guys can't do any bad. So, that's my personal opinion. Skinless. Number 12, Collector Scum. I feel so called out. In your collection, are there pesky gaps in a band's discography that you are hoping to fill? Yes, there are several of them. There are quite a few, actually, as a matter of fact. I did a whole video, 2 videos, as a matter of fact, talking about records that I'm looking for, so some of those will be brought up here. Go watch those videos if you haven't. But for me, primarily, Opeth, Deliverance, Cannibal Corpse, A Skeletal Domain, Skinless with the 1994 demo cassette, Dying Fetus with Grotesque Impalement, and Meshuggah with Destroy, Erase, Improve. I want all of those on vinyl. If I can find them all with their original covers, first presses, maybe. Honestly, I don't care. As long as it's got the original artwork, and as long as it can finish my collection, and as long as I'm not forking over an arm, leg, and maybe even a skeleton about it, that'd make my year. So, gonna keep an eye out for all of those releases going forward in 2026. Number 13, Evolution. Talk about a band or album that you think is successfully moving its respective genre forward. I'm going to talk about a band in particular. Y'all have probably seen me gush about this band numerous times here on the channel, and we're going to be gushing about them just a little bit more. That's my good friend. It's Spider God. This is Black Renditions. This is a black metal pop album. I know what you're thinking. Ben, that's blasphemous. I'm never going to listen to that. But really, you should. Hyper melodic black metal at its absolute finest. Spider God not only gets the fun parts of black metal, but also gives lore to black metal. He has recently started a 3-album trilogy, beginning with 2023's The Killing Room, into 2024's Possess the Devil, and into 2026's upcoming album, in which we detail a game about people being possessed to kill and murder to earn points that has been taken over by an evil corporation in which its creator is trapped inside. If that sounds like an absolute incredible time, go and listen to those albums, go and support Spider God. It is honestly insane to see the amount of dedication, the amount of really cool influences, and the amount of fun things that this guy gets up to. Seriously, as you see, it's Britney Spears wearing black metal paint. That's pretty cool. So, I feel like he helped me open my world to a whole lot of extra music outside of black metal, such as pop, some Brit rock, some hardcore. It's so fun. Honestly, all of it is really, really fun. Spider God is one of the hardest working black metal musicians going in the UK scene right now. I'm happy to call him and some people that watch the channel here friends of mine. So, you know, Spider God, seriously, pushing the black metal scene forward. I was going to pick Void, Marty, but you picked them. Why? I love those guys. But no one's going to talk about Spider God, so I'm going to talk about Spider God. Spider God, moving the black metal scene forward, where we're going to have fun. We don't want to just crawl up into a cave and cry and worship Satan. Sometimes we want to listen to pop albums and cry too. Spider God. Number 14, Told You So. Show an album or albums that someone recommended to you that impressed you enough to purchase it. This is actually a recent purchase. Recently, we saw Dead Congregation over at the Guillotine in San Antonio, Texas, and at that show, doing some vending, was a friend of ours known as No Malmus Distro. I went over and looked at his tapes, I went over and looked at his vinyls. One particular item caught my eye, and this man had an excellent description, and the way he described it to me is that it is some of the fastest, blackest thrash metal that you will ever hear, and that they are out of Texas. Immediately sold me on it. I went back, purchased it, and then took it home and jammed it non-stop for the better part of about a month straight. I'm talking about Terrorist, and Life Was Death released in 2023 on Morbid Metal Records, later reissued in 2025 on Impious cassettes. This was actually really cool because how old this tape is, but these dudes are just some of the most eclectic black thrash metal ever. And also the fact that they're out of Texas, these dudes were way ahead of their time for me personally. Just some really, really good black thrash on here. If I had to recommend a couple tracks, I'm going to go with Hailstorm, Lord of Deceit, and Onward, Destroyer. I hope to see these guys again in the very, very near future. And honestly, just the guy's recommendations are always on point. But when he recommended this to me, I knew I had to listen. And boy, am I glad I did. Terrorist and Life Was Death. Number 15, King Cheese. Recommend a power metal album to Marty Worm that you think is exceptional. He's always on the hunt. Well, I hate to break the bearer of bad news. I'm not really much of a power metal guy. There's not a whole lot of power metal in my collection, unfortunately. So I'm going to give you a heavy metal album that is maybe leaning towards power metal. I'm actually going to pose this question to you guys. If you have any cool power metal bands that you think I would like, leave it down in the comments section. I would love to start getting into the genre and maybe finding some bands I do. But I can safely say, unfortunately, none of this is in my collection. But I do want to shout out the awesome dudes in Myth Carver with their album Twist of Fate, released in 2025 independently and later reissued on No Remorse Records. These dudes are out of Dallas, Texas, and are easily one of the coolest heavy metal bands going right now in the Texas scene. They recently started breaking out. They played Wrecking Ball Metal Madness in Dallas, and I'm ashamed to have missed them. They have yet to play Austin just yet, but I'll be sure to pick up a copy of that album. We'll be showing it off on the channel here when it does come in, but I definitely really, really enjoyed the sound. I don't think I've heard very, very much like it, and it was definitely a fresh take on traditional heavy metal, so I'm just going to recommend that. So there's my recommendation. Power metal adjacent, we'll say. Again, if you guys have recommendations, please leave them down in the comment section below. Maybe we'll do a new series or something. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it. Number 16, 2 Minutes to Midnight. What is the last album you bought in 2025? I was going to film this video last week, but I had a couple things come up, so I'm bumping it to right now. It's actually the 10th of January when I'm filming this, and this came in just a couple of days ago, and this was the last thing I purchased in 2025 that actually finally arrived. Before then, I didn't have this record in, so now I do have it, and now we can talk about it. I'm talking about Possessed to Skate, released in 1997 on 625 Thrashcore Records. This is a big, I believe it's a 7-way split between bands such as Charles Bronson, Spaz, Asshole Parade, Pretentious Assholes, Palatica, and one of my favorite bands ever, Despise You. This is a really, really just good compilation of grindcore, hardcore, punk, and all the stuff of that sort. So definitely some cool tracks on here. Highly recommend checking it out. I primarily purchased it for the Despise You side because I love Despise You. I have just about everything of theirs except for this on vinyl, which now I do have. I had an old distro copy, sold it to me on Discogs, and got it to me just a couple of days ago. So I'm finally glad to have this on hand. Possessed to Skate. Number 17, Brain Drain. When feeling musical burnout, what is a nostalgic album that always makes you excited about music again? I hate to say it, I did have a lot of musical burnout in 2025. There was not a lot sticking with me. So I did kind of go back to some old classics, some old non-metal albums of mine. And this particular one made me not only feel good about myself, but also just made me glad that I have still good music in my collection that I can go back to whenever I damn well please. I'm talking about Elbow with Flying Dream 1, released in 2021 on Polydor Records. For me, this is indie rock out of England, but it has just some of the most atmospheric, nostalgic, and just beautiful songwriting that I've ever heard in my life. Just an absolutely, really, really great album. I've been jamming this record nonstop for years. So anytime I feel like I'm just getting overwhelmed by not really finding anything that I enjoy, it's always fun to go back to this album, listen to it in any order that I choose to, whether it's in order, in my car, on shuffle, it's just an excellent time across the board. This record is damn near perfect. I talked about it in a previous video, which is my 5 records from 5 genres I don't like. Indie rock is not one of the genres that I always go to, but this is a record that I always go to. If you do want a metal adjacent record, I will give you two, and that is Le Voyage de l'Âme by Alceste, released in 2012. I picked that up on vinyl a little while ago, and it's been a favorite of mine for the better part of about 5-ish years. And I will also shout out The Killing Room by Spider God, released in 2023 on Repose Records. Again, just one of those awesome records that can show that metal music can be fun. You can have a lot more fun than just a standard surface level connection. When you dive into the music, that you can have such a great time. And that there are bands out there still doing that, where it makes you think about the music and the topics and all of that stuff as well. So all of those records are I highly recommend checking out. And consider that my recommendation from me to you. Number 18. There's Waldo. Show a classic or old album that you somehow overlooked for many years that you loved as soon as you heard it. You think for being in the Texas metal scene, you think I would have heard about this album way sooner than I had, but I discovered this album in 2023 and waited patiently for a reissue. I am talking about Iron Age with a Sleeping Eye, released in 2009 on TP Records. I own the 2014 Gaming Metal vinyl exclusive on 20 Bucks Spin Records. These dudes are some awesome thrash metal out of Dallas, Texas that unfortunately is no longer with us. This band disbanded in 2015. But when you talk about bands like Mammoth Grinder and Hatred Surge, this band was always in the conversation, and somehow I never ever got the chance to get to it because I was always diving into newer music, and some of the older stuff does get pushed back. I hate to do that, and I was kind of glad to do some of that stuff in 2025 where I did get to go back and enjoy a bunch of records that I have missed. But this one was one from a couple of years ago that I'm finally glad to own on vinyl. Some favorite tracks on mine on here such are Sleeping Eye of the Watcher, Materia Prima, and A Younger Earth. Just some excellent Texas thrash metal. Iron Age, The Sleeping Eye, rest in peace Wade Allison. We got 2 more for you, and then I'll be out of your hair, and we'll be doing some more stuff here in the near future. But, number 19, Hello, My Name Is. Was there a video or stream that you participated in during 2025 that you are especially proud of? Include links in your video description. I'm going to give you just 3, especially if you don't know me, if you don't know my content, if you want to see some really cool stuff that I've done. I highly recommend checking out my Halloween Wax Showcase video. I do a really, really cool little sketch in there. Highly recommend checking that out. I'm not going to spoil anything. Go and watch it and see. But the second video I'm going to recommend is going to be a Wax Showcase video entitled Throw Himself from the Temple, which features a spider god in the cover there. Shows off some really, really cool items. And again, a nice little fun sketch on there as well. Just showing off some really cool records. I put a lot of time into that one, and I wanted to do something really special for my friend in Spider God. So, you know, I think that's a really, really cool video as well. And we talked about this a little bit earlier in the video as well, but if you still haven't watched it yet, my second annual Jaded Ben Awards. I know that video is about 50 minutes long, but there's a lot of really, really cool things in there. I show off some really, really cool albums, and I talk about a lot of really, really cool things. So if you want to get to know me, if you want to get to know my music taste, if you want to get to know what I'm about here on the channel, I highly recommend checking out those 3 videos. I'm going to link to them all separately down in the description. Go and watch them. Go and share them with your friends, and I very much appreciate it. If any of those get you to subscribe and you're not subscribed already, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. You made it to this part of the video? Thank you. You rule. And finally, number 20, Into Glory Ride. Name a band that you want to see reissue one more great album before they retire. I'm going to give you 3 because some of these bands are sort of defunct with metal, at least just haven't released anything in a very, very long time, and 2 of these are bands that just haven't released a good album in a very, very long time. The band that hasn't released an album in a very, very long time that I would like to see them release one more album before they retire is going to be Merciful Fate. I believe their last album was 1999, and they've been teasing new record for the better part of about 2 or 3, maybe even longer years. So I think it's about time that they throw one more out there before they call it quits. The second band that I would like to talk about is Venom. I enjoyed Storm the Gates just a little bit. There were some tracks on there that were really, really good, but there were some tracks on there that were a bit of a bore. So I feel like, unfortunately, I do think that they're kind of on a downward trajectory. I feel like they've always kind of been on a downward trajectory, but I feel like Kronos might have one more album left in him before he calls it quits. I'm hoping he can reconcile the differences with the old Venom members. Do I think that's going to happen? No, probably not, but I can dream, can't I? And finally, the band that I would really like to see put out one more good album before they retire, especially due to health. Some of the health of the band members in recent years, I'm a little scared that this band may be done in the near future. And especially with the last two albums that they put out, I think they're due for one more good one. Morbid Angel. I have the Volume 1 box set from Earache Records, which features 6 records on here. That is Altars of Madness to Entangled and Chaos. That also includes the Liebach mixes as well. This is such a really, really good band. I love a vast amount of their discography, but Kingdoms Disdained and Illa Divinum Insanus are really, really weak albums. Illa Divinum Insanus is absolutely terrible. Kingdoms Disdained played it way too safe. I've got the V2 version of this box set coming in the very, very near future. But needless to say, both of those records are missing from that. I wonder why. Morbid Angel, especially now that Trey Azagoth seems to be having some health issues, especially in 2023. He had a little bit of a health scare going on, so I'm hoping that the band is getting better. I'm hoping that this is going to be one last good run, and I feel like if they call it quits after that, I will be a satisfied metalhead. But any of those three bands would be great, so Merciful Fate, Morbid Angel, and Venom. I would like to see an album from those three. And that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the Metal Tag. And now, I challenge you, if you're watching this video, go watch Marty and Alan's original video. Get some inspiration, look at the questions in their description box, and answer this yourself. I would love to see what awesome records that you have in your collection that you want to talk about and answer all these questions with. 2026 is shaping up to be an excellent year here on the channel. I'm very, very happy with where we're starting the year, and I've got some massive things planned for 2026, so stay with me. We're going to have a Wax Showcase video up here in about a week or two, but in the meantime, stay safe, stay metal, and I'll see you next time.